When you picture the Cold War, your mind probably leaps to shadowy figures in trench coats, coded messages whispered across dimly lit alleys, submarines gliding unseen beneath polar ice, or satellites racing silently across the night sky. But far from the headlines and away from the espionage and diplomacy, another battle was unfolding, one fought not with ideology or weapons, but with cold. Brutal, unrelenting, world-stopping cold. Up in the Arctic tundra, where winter lasts most of the year and where temperatures fall so low they can turn diesel into thick, useless wax, there were no power lines, no electrical grids, and no easy source of heat or light. Yet this frozen world was exactly where scientists, engineers, and soldiers were ordered to build the front line of early warning and surveillance. They needed electricity steady, silent electricity to run radar stations, weather outposts, navigation beacons, and secret listening posts. Power meant survival. And in a region where the sun disappears for months and fuel freezes solid, they needed something far more dependable than batteries or generators. So engineers turned to an idea that seemed almost unbelievable at the time. Use the heat of radioactive the natural warmth of nuclear material to generate electricity. These devices weren't fantasies, and they weren't confined to science fiction. They were rugged. And in the silent whiteness of the polar frontier, they became light. These small nuclear power sources were called radioisotope thermoelectric generators, RTGs, for short, and their purpose was simple: deliver power where no other machine could survive. In the 1950s, as the US, the Soviet Union, and Canada built the distant early warning line, a chain of radar stations stretching across the polar regions, one problem overshadowed everything. The Arctic is unforgiving. Sunlight vanishes during long winter months. Diesel engines fail. Batteries lose charge almost immediately. And flying fuel into remote outposts was expensive, dangerous, and sometimes impossible. RTGs offered something revolutionary: electricity without fuel, without moving parts, and without maintenance. They harnessed physics itself. Inside each generator was a small pellet of radioactive isotope, often strontium plutonium-238 sealed. Inside protective shielding, as the isotope decayed, it released heat. Thermoelectric materials, known as thermocouples, captured that heat and converted it into electricity. Hot on one side, freezing on the other. In the Arctic, that temperature difference was massive, which made RTGs even more efficient. The colder it was outside, the better they worked. A unit the size of a car battery could power an entire weather station or communications beacon for decades. No repairs, no refueling, no resupply flights. Just a silent pulse of atomic heat, beating steadily under the ice. The Soviets embraced the technology on a massive scale. They installed hundreds of RTGs along the Siberian coastline, navigation aids, meteorological stations, and remote lighthouses glowing with nuclear-powered reliability. Many of these units kept running long after the Soviet Union collapsed, some forgotten entirely until scavengers stumbled across them, unaware of the radioactive hearts they carried. In the West, the United States developed its own versions under the SNAP program, systems for nuclear auxiliary power. These miniature reactors and thermoelectric generators powered satellites, deep-sea sensors, Arctic research stations, and remote posts that could not afford even a single moment of failure. Built to survive crashes, fires, and extreme temperatures, many continued to operate long after their missions ended. But the importance of these forgotten Cold War devices goes beyond history. They embody a principle that remains just as critical today. True resilience comes from systems that endure not through complexity, but through simplicity. RTGs had no engines to seize up, no belts to snap, no batteries to freeze. They worked because they were elegantly, deliberately minimal. And while modern survivalists aren't going to walk around with plutonium pellets in their backpacks, the mindset behind RTGs is more relevant now than ever. Today, thermoelectric generators allow ordinary heat from wood stoves, campfires, or biochar burners to be converted into electricity using the exact same physical principles without any radiation. A remote cabin can run LED lights, charge radios, or power sensors Simply by attaching these modules to a stove, field researchers in polar regions still rely on passive systems inspired by RT, capturing heat from geothermal vents, or even decomposing biomass to produce electricity when sunlight and fuel are unreliable. RTGs reshaped how we think about off-grid survival. They taught that endurance doesn't come from massive infrastructure, it comes from self-contained systems that quietly do their job, year after year, without human intervention. Even today, these nuclear batteries power ocean buoys, deep space probes, autonomous polar stations anywhere. That humanity needs energy, but cannot afford failure. In a world fascinated by solar panels, lithium batteries, and ever smarter electronics, it's worth remembering the elegant little generators that hummed beneath Arctic snow half a century ago, devices that never needed the sun, never needed fuel, and never once asked for help. They simply worked. So the next time you imagine the Cold War, don't picture only missiles, maps, and men in dimly lit rooms. Picture the silent Arctic. Picture a lonely metal cylinder half buried in ice, quietly breathing out warmth as it powers a radar dish or a solitary radio beacon. Picture endurance in its purest form. If you found this journey into forgotten Cold War technology fascinating, be sure to subscribe to In the Beginning for more deep documentary-style explorations into the survival tools, tactics, and engineering miracles that shaped modern history. And share this with a fellow enthusiast, because the past doesn't just show us what once was possible. It shows us what still can be.